when Mara rented the old house at the end of Whistler Road. She expected loneliness and peace, not the thick quiet that seemed to press against her like a held breath. The house was older than the road itself, its foundations older, its bones older still. Neighbors avoided walking past it, stepping off the sidewalk with hurried excuses, as if the very shadow of the house swallowed warmth. On the day she moved in, Mara felt watched, though there was no one there, just windows with glass clouded by age, staring outward like cataracts. A wind chime hung by the porch, made of rusted keys that jingled softly even when the air was still. She decided she liked the sound. It reminded her of childhood. That night, Mara lay awake in a room that smelled faintly of lavender and rot. She stared at the ceiling, tracing cracks like spindly veins. And then she heard them, slow, dragging footsteps above her. Someone pacing, heel to toe, back and forth. The attic. She told herself old houses made strange noises. Pipes, wood, temperature shifts. She repeated it like a mantra, but the rhythm of those footsteps was too deliberate. Someone, or something, was walking. All night long, the ceiling murmured with movement she could not explain. By morning, Mara hadn't slept, but exhaustion smothered fear, and she convinced herself she would laugh about it later. Houses settle, she thought. Houses remember. But the house seemed aware, and it was already remembering her. On the second night, Mara found the attic door slightly open. She didn't remember leaving it that way. A stale cold drifted down the steps, air that smelled like rain on old dirt. She should have shut the door and gone to bed. Instead, curiosity pulled her upward, one cautious step at a time. The attic was dim, lit only by the weak moon through a circular window stained with grime. The floor was coated in dust except for a narrow path shaped like footprints. Mara followed them with her eyes. Small feet, a child's, pacing in the same pattern she heard the night before. At the far end of the attic sat a rocking chair, wooden and frail, placed as though waiting for someone to return. She reached out, touched the armrest, smooth, well-used. Then a voice, soft as a breath, spoke behind her. "You came back." She turned so fast her vision blurred. No one stood there, yet the air was thick with presence, as though a figure had just stepped aside. The rocking chair began to move, slow at first, creaking like a sigh. Mara stumbled down the stairs and slammed the attic door. Chest tight, pulse stuttering like a bad engine. She pressed her back to the wood, half expecting it to press back. But there was only silence. Long, heavy silence. She slept downstairs that night. And still, she heard the rocking chair moving above her. Days passed. Mara tried to ignore the attic, but the house wouldn't let her. Doors she closed were sometimes open. The keys on the porch chime would jingle though the air was dead still. Shadows where no shadows should be. And always, soft footsteps above. One afternoon, while searching for the source of a draft, she found a loose floorboard beneath her bed. Inside the hollow space rested a small wooden box, delicate and carved with looping vines. The latch snapped open as if eager. Inside were old photographs, sepia and fragile. Each depicted a family standing proudly before the house, mothers with stiff smiles, fathers with solemn eyes, children clutching toys. But in every picture, the same shape stood slightly behind them, a faint silhouette of a child, blurred, almost invisible unless you knew where to look. Mara turned to the final photo, and the world seemed to tilt sideways. It wasn't old at all. The colors were crisp, the film modern. In it stood a young woman at the gate of Whistler Road's house, luggage in hand. Mara. Her face, her clothes, taken the day she moved in. Only she had never posed for it. Frozen with terror, she noticed something else. In the photograph, just behind her shoulder, a small hand rested against her back. A child's hand. Pale, almost translucent. Upstairs, the rocking chair began to move, slow and steady, as though someone had just settled into it. The floor above her creaked with light footsteps, heading toward the stairs. Closer, closer. Mara backed away, heart hammering. But the house seemed to pulse around her, walls expanding, inhaling, welcoming her deeper. And from the top of the stairs came a soft voice, sweet and eager and impossibly near. "You came back." The footsteps reached the final step. The keys outside the house jingled wildly, and the attic door creaked open. The attic door yawned open like a mouth. Mara stood frozen on the bottom stair, fingers trembling around the photograph. She could not stop staring at the pale hand on her shoulder, the smile she didn't remember making. Footsteps descended, soft as fingertips brushing fabric. She told herself she would run, but her legs refused to obey. Fear rooted her like something planted deep beneath the floorboards. A child appeared at the landing. A boy, maybe 6, barefoot, dressed in clothes decades outdated, wool suspenders, a collared shirt buttoned unevenly. His skin was grey with cold, eyes dark and shining like wet stones. His hair curled in tangled wisps, as if forever caught in a breeze that no longer existed. He tilted his head at her, curious. "You left," he whispered, not accusing, but wounded. "But you came back." Mara tried to speak, but her throat stayed locked. The boy descended the last step, each footfall leaving a faint print of dust on the wood. Behind him, the rocking chair continued to sway though no one sat in it now. The boy raised a hand, not reaching toward her, but toward the wall. He pressed his palm to it, and the wallpaper rippled like skin touched by a breath. A moan, distant but human, echoed through the house. Mara stumbled backward. "What do you want?" His smile was small, too knowing. "To finish what you started." The wall beside him pulsed, then split like old fabric tearing. Inside was not insulation or wood, but darkness, deep and writhing. A cold wind poured out, smelling of dirt and damp stone. Mara's vision swam as shadows poured down the stairway, curling around her feet like curious hands. She fled. Not up, not out, but deeper, into the only place she felt she might still be alone, the basement. The door slammed behind her of its own accord. The house exhaled, and the light in the basement flickered like a dying heartbeat. The basement was colder than any winter Mara remembered. The walls sweated with moisture, dripping like tears. A single bulb swung overhead, casting frantic shadows that seemed to shrink away from her only to stretch back in, reaching like claws. Mara backed against a support beam, clutching the photograph box as though it could anchor her to reality. Dust shifted above, footsteps on the floorboards, pacing, circling, hunting. She pressed her eyes shut. Something whispered from the dark. Not the child. Not one voice. Many. Mara forced herself to look. On the far wall, dozens of names were carved into brick, some deep, some shallow, some fresh enough that chalk still clung to the grooves. She stepped closer, unable to stop herself. Her fingers traced the most recent name. Mara Lowe. The date beneath it was tomorrow. Her heartbeat became a frantic drum. She backed away, breath sharp and fast. The bulb exploded, plunging her into blackness so complete it felt physical. A weight pressing against her face. Then she saw them. Eyes. Hundreds of them, opening like flowers in the dark. Children's eyes. Adults. Entire families staring with hunger, with longing, with recognition. Their outlines formed from shadow, from dust, from the walls themselves. Mara dropped the photograph box. Images fell out. She picked one up and it said, "April Fools, you fell for it."